With the Allied advances in the Ruhr Valley, the German army was on the run. Incendiary bombing reduced the industrial city of Wuppertal to rubble.
Every time I come in here, you're watching some World War II show.
100,000 refugees fled the firestorm, scattering into the countryside. Such was the sorry toll of total war.
Dear Tim and Moby, can you give me a rundown of World War II? From Primo. Oh, so now you're with me. World War II was fought between the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, and the Allied powers, England, France, the Soviet Union, the US, and a lot of other smaller countries. Germany was the major aggressor in World War II. It was led by Adolf Hitler, a totalitarian dictator. That means he controlled every aspect of life in the country. Hitler rose to power as the leader of the Nazi Party, a German political party. The Nazis took control by promising a glorious future for Germany and stoking anger over the Treaty of Versailles, the peace agreement that ended World War I in 1919. Germany had agreed to pay huge sums of money to the winners and shrink its military way down. It also gave up big chunks of territory, one of which split the country in two. Hitler vowed to get revenge for this humiliation. He said the Germans were a master race, superior to all other people. It was their destiny to be the most powerful nation on earth. They would rule over the inferior races, which was basically everyone else. Hitler reserved a special hatred for Jewish people. He blamed them for Germany's problems, including the defeat in World War I. At first, the world stood by as Hitler began his quest for total power. No one wanted to spark another world war. In 1938, he sent troops into Austria, which gave up without much fight. A few months after that, he took over part of Czechoslovakia. It was hoped that he would be satisfied with these two conquests. But soon he was demanding the part of Poland that Germany had given up after World War I. Britain and France agreed to defend Poland against any aggression. Then, on September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. 2 days later, both Britain and France declared war on Germany. At this point, the Soviet Union was actually on Germany's side. So the two countries divided Poland between them. The Soviets took the eastern part, while the Germans occupied the western half. The German army went on to defeat Denmark, Norway, and Luxembourg. Then, over just 6 weeks in 1940, they overran the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. Their style of war was known as Blitzkrieg, which means lightning war. It was a fast, overwhelming invasion. Britain was left to fight the Nazis alone. The German Luftwaffe, or Air Force, used France as a base to attack England by air. When the British refused to surrender, the Luftwaffe began the Blitz. It was a relentless bombing campaign targeting London and other cities. But England's Royal Air Force, or RAF, managed to successfully defend their country. The U.S. stayed out of the fighting, but supplied England with naval support, weapons, and equipment. Germany expanded its alliances by signing the Tripartite Pact with Japan and Italy. Meanwhile, the Nazi regime had begun arresting, deporting, and killing Jews and other minorities. This was the start of the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews. You can learn more about that in our Holocaust movie. In 1941, the global balance shifted again. Germany broke its pact with the Soviet Union, launching an invasion of its former ally. It proved to be a fatal mistake. The Germans suffered huge losses fighting the massive Soviet army and the bitter Russian winter. They were forced to retreat. Plus, they secured themselves a new enemy as the Soviet Union joined the global fight against them. Germany's chances of winning the war were getting very slim. But Hitler refused to give in. He would rather see his country destroyed than surrender. The United States finally entered the war after getting attacked on home soil. On December 7, 1941, Japan bombed the naval port at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. In response, the U.S. joined up with the Allies and sent troops to 3 areas or theaters of war. One was the Pacific Theater, to fight Japan in an island-hopping campaign. In the Mediterranean Theater, the Allies fought the Axis powers in North Africa and Italy. And finally, a massive force of Americans, British, and Canadians was sent to fight in France. This was the Western Front of the European theater. More than 160,000 troops crossed the English Channel from Britain. They landed on the beaches of Normandy on the morning of June 6, 1944. This invasion is known as D-Day. The Allies sustained heavy losses but won a key victory. Germany was now trapped between two Allied fronts, Europe in the west and the Soviet Union in the east. After 5 years and millions of lives lost, the end of the war was finally in sight. German cities were flattened as the Allies pushed in from both sides. When it was clear there was no escape, Hitler took his own life. A week later, on May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered. In the Pacific, the Japanese were still holding off American forces. President Truman took a drastic step to end the war. He dropped nuclear bombs on 2 civilian cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's the only time the atom bomb has ever been used in war. Japan surrendered in August 1945. So, that's World War II. The basics. Does that answer all your questions? Well, that's what school is for. I have a life too, you know.